eighth consecutive budget speech, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman exempted annual income of up to 12 lakh rupees from income tax. She has also rejigged the tax slabs and announced several schemes. But what does the opposition think of this budget? Joining us now is a senior Congress leader and former Finance Minister, Mr. P. Chidambaram. Mr. Chidambaram, thank you so much for your time. Sir, would you concede that this relief to the middle class is a bold move, because policymakers, opposition, have been demanding as to why the government is not passing on dividends from record GST collections to the middle class?
More than a bold move, it is a clever move. It is intended to attract the attention of the voters of Delhi and the voters of Bihar. I have no complaint about the relief given to 3.2 crore tax-paying income tax filers. Mark my words, only 3.2 crore income tax filers actually pay tax. What about the remaining 140 crore? If you had cut the GST, it would have benefited many, many more crore. If you had cut the prices of petrol and diesel, or reduce the taxes on petrol and diesel, that would have benefited millions of people. If you had increased the Maganrega wages, it would have benefited millions of families. Therefore, while I have no complaint about the relief given to 3.2 crore income tax filers who pay tax, what about the rest?
Right. Also, Mr. Chidambaram, why do you feel most of these schemes are beyond capacity of this government, and why that the bureaucracy will be happy with this? Because the government is also saying that they will be bringing in Jan Vishwas 2.0, which will reduce regulations and unnecessary compliances.
What regulations have been reduced? In fact, she has announced 15 more schemes and 4 more funds, which means adding to the bureaucratic discretionary load. Why announce 15 more schemes when many of your current schemes are underfunded or you are underutilizing the funds? I'll give you examples. In health, 1,255 crore was underspent. In education, 11,584 crore. In social welfare, 10,019 crore. In agriculture, 10,992 crore. In rural development, a whopping 75,133 crore. Urban development, 18,907 crore. You are not able to spend the money on the programs that you announced with great fanfare last year. Why add another 15 programs?
Okay. Sir, the government's own calculation is that this budget will aid consumption and hence boost demand and private capex. Would you agree or disagree? And what's your assessment?
What's your assessment?
I'll partially agree. About 20% I'll agree. But at the end of the day, the finance minister confessed that the growth this year will be 6.4%. So if growth in 25-26 will be no different from the growth in 24-25, what has this budget done? This budget should have boosted growth to 8%. Neither the Honorable Finance Minister nor the Chief Economic Advisor is willing to say, because of this budget in 25-26, our growth will rise to 8%. Have they said that? I have not heard it. Have they told you?
Mr. Chidambaram, also this is being seen as a pro-middle class budget. Politically, do you think it is a risk, or do you think it presents an opportunity? And I also wanted to ask you about the projected numbers. Do they look realistic of deficit, of tax collections? What do you have to say?
Allocation and expenditure numbers are not giving me optimism. For example, in the current year, The revenue receipts are lower by 41,240 crore. The revised net tax receipts are lower by 26,439 crore. As I said a little while earlier, in key sectors, they have underspent the money. Therefore, I'm not sure about the capacity of this government to spend the money allocated. I'm very, very doubtful about the capacity of the government to spend the money allocated. And there are programs in Poshan, Jal Jeevan Mission, National Social Assistance Program, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, Crop Insurance Scheme, Urea Subsidy, and PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Look at the numbers. In each of these numbers, there is a vast difference between the budget estimates made last year and the revised estimates announced this year. So how can I be confident that the government will spend the money allocated this year in this budget?
One of the criticisms that came from you was that the government's stranglehold on people's activities is getting tighter. Why do you say so?
So because in past programs, current programs, they have not been able to achieve their objectives. Then why announce I counted 15 new programs and schemes. I counted 4 new funds. If you count more carefully, there may be more. 15 new programs and schemes have been announced. 4 new funds have been announced. Where is the capacity of this government to deliver? I mean, if they have failed to deliver on past programs, what is the confidence that the new programs will be delivered? Therefore, I said that the bureaucracy will be very happy. They have got more discretionary schemes.
Right. Also, Mr. Chidambaram, there has been a little concern over private investment not picking up. Do you think the budget adequately addresses that concerns? Because the finance minister also announced this investment friendliness index today, and she wants states to be more competitive. Do you think that is one silver lining that you can agree upon?
The Honorable Finance Minister for the last 2 years has been pleading with the private investor, cajoling the private investor. In one meeting, she even warned the private investor. Now, if pleas, cajolery, and warnings have not had any effect so far, what will a budget have any effect? The environment is not conducive to private investment because if you read the economic survey, there are too many regulations, too many layers of regulation, as the chief economic advisor said. And the agencies are so empowered, they have actually been weaponized. Nobody wants to do anything which will bring them into contact with the government. Therefore, people are going abroad and investing. They are moving their businesses to Singapore. In fact, wealthy people are settling in other countries. You have to create an environment. And for that, you have to deregulate. Get out of the way is the most sensible advice given by a chief economic advisor in the last 10 years. Get out of the way. Don't regulate. Don't add more regulations. Have you seen recently the RBI regulations, the SEBI regulations, the Ministry of Company Affairs regulations and rules, the Competition Commission regulations, the IBC regulations? Every year they add another set of regulations. I can say that for Ministry of Coal, for Ministry of Steel, for Ministry of Mining. They just, every secretary, every joint secretary writes a page of regulations. Now the finance minister should sit down and take not a knife, a sledgehammer, and chop off all these regulations, which is what the chief economic advisor said. This is the most regulated economy. In 1991, we started an era of deregulation, liberalization. Now we have gone back halfway. We have added as many regulations as we have dismantled in the first years of liberalization.
Mr. Chidambaram, you have said that the cruelest cut has been dealt to the SC/STs and OBCs. The government says that it is the champion of these communities. What's really the issue here?
I've given the numbers. I've given 4 examples. PM Anusuchit Jati Abhidyo Yojana allocation was 2,140 crore for the current year, 24-25. Spending is 800 crore, 1/3. For Young Achievers Scholarship for OBC, EBC and denotified tribes, allocation was 1,836 crore. Actual expenditure will be 1,381 crore. Post-metric scholarship for scheduled castes, allocation was 6,360 crore. Actual expenditure will be 5,500 crore. Program for development of scheduled tribes, allocation was 4,300 crore. Actual expenditure will be 3,630 crore. I've given 4 examples. If you examine the budget papers more closely, more intensely, you will find other examples. Government must say why it is spent less money than allocated for Anusuchit Jati, for OBC, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes. Government must explain these numbers. I'm not saying they have no explanation, but they should explain these numbers and satisfy the public at large.
Mr. Chidambaram, last question. You have maintained that this government is not willing to break free as the governments did in 1991 and also in 2004. And a few days ago, Congress also held a press conference in which it said that the country has been pushed into a middle income trap by the government's policies. Does that change now, sir?
No, nothing has changed. If you are projecting a 6.5% growth, we are heading towards a middle income trap. We have to grow at 8% and sustain it over 15-20 years. It is not as though this country has not achieved 8% plus growth. We have achieved it in the past. In 3+1, I think 4 or 5 years, we have achieved 8% growth. Now technology is a help. Therefore, we should aim at 8% growth and sustain 8% growth. But the government does not seem to have the confidence that we will raise the growth rate to 8%. If the government does not have any confidence, why would the private investor have confidence?
All right, Mr. P. Chidambaram, pleasure speaking to you, sir. Thank you so much for your time here on NDTV.
Thank you.